everybody, welcome back for another segment of Stress in Ministry. Well, learning how to manage stress in ministry. Well, one of the things that I have learned from the recovery movement is the acronym HALT. Don't allow yourself to become too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. And because when we get too hungry, we get hangry, like Gollum. But after I eat, I'm as just relaxed and chilled out as a lazy golden retriever. But that just is a really, really important reminder of how important it is to monitor our life gauges. If we're feeling stressed or we're maybe reacting in ways that seem strange, just, to remind ourselves or to, ask ourselves, am I hungry? Or if I'm angry, why am I angry? Or am I feeling lonely? Or I'm tired? Because, when we're, isolated or feeling lonely, when we're tired, we're just much more emotionally fragile than we are at other times, which is one of the reasons why sleep is one of the major practices that we can engage in to manage depression and stress. So let's think further about how we can learn to manage stress. If my slide will go forward. But one thing that's been really helpful to me over the years is learning what my duty cycle is. To realize that my duty cycle isn't the same as everybody else's. Now, what's a duty cycle? Well, a duty cycle, I've learned it's a term for what different motors in them have. Say like a refrigerator, that it has a duty cycle to run for maybe 10 minutes and it shuts off and then it turns back on. But it's not meant to be on all the time, because if it runs constantly, it means your refrigerator is going to die because they just weren't designed that way. Well, similarly, our duty cycle, the way that God has created us, doesn't mean that we should be running, at full speed all the time. That we have a rhythm to our life. We run hard and then we rest. But it's sort of this back and forth engagement, disengagement, work, play, rest, work, play, rest. That's really important. And I think, especially when we're younger, it's all too easy to compare ourselves to others, because we see, oh, well, this person, they accomplished this or that, they must be da-da-da-da-da, and I need to be like that. And some of us, when we learn about John Wesley's sleep patterns, for example, that he got up at 4 in the morning every day, it can make us feel like, well, I must be a failure, I can't do that. Well, what we neglect is, that he went to bed between 8 and 9 o'clock every night, so it really isn't quite as remarkable as it might seem. And, you think how cold London was, probably a pretty good thing to go to bed that early in the night. But, and we'll talk more, I do talk more in my Healthy, Happy, Holy book about sleep and how we all need at least 8 hours, maybe even 9 hours of sleep a night. But we need to be careful of comparing ourselves. Now, my wife Shelley and I, we are very different in this regard. She's always been much more of a racehorse, fast charging, getting things done. She's just very efficient. For me, I'm the tortoise. I'm a plotter. That I just kind of work on things slow and steady. I definitely, the Aesop's table or fable, that slow and steady win the race. I may not be flashy, I may not be fast, but I just get the job done. So I encourage you to reflect upon, well, what is my duty cycle? And then to recognize, your gifts, but also to accept your limitations. And over the years, I've just had to accept that I'm not like Shelley, and that's okay. But God hasn't called me to be like Shelley. He's called me to be Joe, and to be the best Joe that I possibly can be, to be the best version of myself. Well, along with this, I think it's really important for us to think in terms of seasons of life when we're undergoing times of stress, is that seasons of life don't last forever. We have fall, winter, spring, summer. Yes, I do know the 4 seasons. But if I think of my life in terms of seasons, and that's one of the things that I always loved about being a college student, is that, you have a quarter, you have a semester, and that, you just kind of sprint and you get through that period of time, and then you can rest, relax, you can go home and start over again. But to also realize, that a season of life does not last forever. And that's what I love in the King James Version of the Bible. That phrase, "and it came to pass," appears 463 times. 463 times. And I think the 53 is a reference to my Healthy, Happy, Holy book. But I just find it interesting with students, whether face-to-face students or online students, that they feel like they can just do everything. You can take 19 hours, a semester, you can socialize, you can have fun, you can work, and then get enough sleep. But we just can't do everything. We really have to decide what we can do and what we can't do. Because when we try to do everything, we grow exhausted, we become miserable, and then everybody around us is miserable as well. All right, well, I see that I have come down to my time limit for this segment, so we'll come back with one more segment, and we'll wrap this lecture up.